There's a plant that survives by remembering suffering, not emotionally, not symbolically, physically. Deep beneath the soil, it stores water inside swollen roots because somewhere in its silent biology, it expects drought to return. And strangely, many people live the exact same way. Maybe you know this feeling. Someone hurt you years ago, but your body still reacts like it happened yesterday. You overthink simple conversations. You prepare for disappointment before happiness even arrives. You struggle to relax even during peaceful moments because pain has memory. And sometimes the human mind becomes like a desert plant, learning to survive by never fully trusting the rain again. What happens when survival becomes your entire personality? In the forests of eastern Africa grows a plant known as Zamioculcas zamiifolia. Most people simply call it the ZZ plant. It's famous for one reason. It survives neglect better than almost any houseplant on Earth. But hidden inside that survival is a psychological lesson about trauma, memory, and the human nervous system. The ZZ plant evolved in harsh environments, long dry seasons, unpredictable rain, scarcity. So nature gave it a remarkable adaptation. Under the soil, the plant develops thick potato-like rhizomes, underground structures that store water for emergencies. The ZZ plant doesn't trust abundance. Even during good conditions, it quietly prepares for future suffering. And humans do this too. Psychologists call it emotional conditioning. When the brain experiences deep emotional pain, abandonment, betrayal, rejection, instability, it begins creating survival strategies. Some people become emotionally distant. Some become hyper-independent. Some constantly prepare for worst-case scenarios. Not because they want negativity, but because their nervous system remembers drought. Even years later, the body keeps storing emotional water, just in case. A person who has been hurt deeply often stops experiencing life directly. Instead, they experience life through prediction. And prediction is rarely peaceful. Imagine someone who grew up in chaos. Arguments every night. Unstable love. Constant criticism. As an adult, silence feels suspicious to them. Healthy relationships feel unfamiliar. Rest feels dangerous. Kindness feels temporary. Because the brain is not asking, "Am I happy?" It is asking, "Am I safe?" This is one of the hidden effects of unresolved emotional pain. The mind becomes a survival machine. Just like the ZZ plant stores water underground, traumatized people often store emotional tension beneath the surface. They may look calm externally, functional, successful, even strong, but internally, they are preparing for emotional drought every single day. And here's the tragedy. The longer someone lives in survival mode, the harder it becomes to recognize peace when it finally arrives. Modern life constantly feeds this psychological drought. Our phones overstimulate the nervous system. Social media trains comparison. News cycles amplify fear. Cities disconnect us from natural rhythms. Human beings evolved beside rivers, forests, rain cycles, sunrise, birdsong, and changing seasons. But now many people wake up to alarms, screens, traffic, and notifications. The nervous system never fully rests. And slowly, people begin functioning like plants trapped in artificial light. Alive, but disconnected from the environment they were designed for. Studies in environmental psychology show that nature exposure lowers cortisol, reduces anxiety, improves focus, and calms the nervous system. Even brief contact with greenery can change brain activity associated with stress. Because nature communicates safety without words. Trees do not rush you. Rain does not compare you. A forest never asks you to prove your worth. And perhaps this is why so many emotionally exhausted people feel relief around plants. Not because plants solve problems, but because they remind the body what calm feels like. The ZZ plant is fascinating because it survives in low light, survives neglect, and survives long periods without water. People admire it for being hard to kill, but sometimes that's also how wounded people describe themselves. I'm used to being alone. I don't need anyone. I can handle everything myself. Strength becomes identity. But survival strength is different from emotional health. A plant surviving drought is impressive. A plant finally receiving consistent rain is healing. There's a difference. Many people secretly believe their trauma made them stronger. And in some ways it did. Pain can create resilience, discipline, awareness, empathy. But pain can also create emotional isolation, the inability to trust, the fear of vulnerability, the constant expectation that love will disappear. Just because you adapted to suffering does not mean suffering became healthy for you. The ZZ plant survives harsh conditions beautifully, but even the strongest plant still grows better with proper care. And so do humans. Healing is often misunderstood. People imagine healing as becoming fearless. But real healing is quieter than that. Healing is teaching the nervous system that the drought is over. It is allowing yourself to rest without guilt, to trust slowly, to stop preparing for disasters that haven't happened. It is learning that peace is not weakness. Nature teaches this gently. A tree does not bloom all year. A river does not force its movement. Even forests recover after fire. In nature, recovery is not shameful. It is part of life itself. And maybe that is what modern humans forget. We try to function endlessly without emotional seasons. We hide exhaustion. We normalize stress. We glorify burnout. But the human mind is still biological, still natural, still deeply connected to sunlight, sleep, silence, air, movement, and living environments. This is why reconnecting with nature can feel strangely emotional. Sometimes a quiet walk beneath trees makes people cry, not because they are weak, but because their nervous system finally experiences stillness for the first time in years. The ZZ plant stores memories of drought inside its roots, but it still continues growing toward light. And maybe that is the most human thing about it. You can remember pain without becoming pain. You can carry difficult memories without building your entire identity around survival. Your past may explain your defenses, but it does not have to imprison your future. Because healing is not forgetting the drought. Healing is no longer living as if the rain will never come again. And perhaps somewhere deep inside, the human soul is always waiting for evidence that life can still be gentle, still safe, still beautiful. So the next time you see a ZZ plant standing quietly in the corner of a room, remember this. Some living things become strong because they had no choice. But true growth begins the moment survival is no longer the only goal. Maybe your nervous system has been storing emotional drought for years. Maybe you've spent your life preparing for loss before love even arrives. But healing does not begin when life becomes perfect. It begins when you slowly allow yourself to believe that peace is possible, even after everything. If this story stayed with you, you may already understand what this channel is really about. Not just plants, but the hidden psychology of being human through the language of nature. Subscribe to The Plant Mind if you'd like to explore more stories where science, emotion, and nature quietly meet. And until next time, take care of your mind the way nature takes care of its roots.